with a good morning to all of you. We're going to talk about tonight's 12-game schedule. So we got 12 tonight, got a couple tomorrow, and then Saturday, it's 15. Yeah. So yeah, it's a big last few days in the NHL. We'll get to find out where teams are at and who's going to play who, that kind of thing, in the playoffs, which are less than a week away. And it is hard. And if you're watching hockey at all over these next couple of days and you're thinking, this is kind of fun, but I really want the playoffs to start now. That's a feeling I've been having the last few days myself. So you're not alone if you start feeling that way. First up, Boston and Minnesota. Nothing to play for here, nothing to see here. Let's move along. No, I'm just kidding. 48-23-9 is the record for the Boston Bruins. I guess they could be playing going, well, we can finish with 50 wins. They're against the 37-34-9 Minnesota Wild, who are now out of the playoffs. Over their last 10, Boston's 6-4. They won their last game, whereas Minnesota's 4-5-1. They've won their last game as well. Their playoff hopes were dashed immediately after that, but they won their last game. Boston's number 2 in the Atlantic, whereas Minnesota is, of course, out. So, for the Boston Bruins, we'll see how they do tonight. When you look at scoring over the last 10 games, Patrice Bergeron, 6 goals, 8 assists. Brad Marchand, 6 goals, 9 assists. David Krejci has 11 assists. Charlie Coyle, 2 goals, 3 assists. This will be his first game against the team that he was on 20 games ago. Chara, 1 goal, 3 assists. Brandon Carlo, a goal and 1 assist. On the Minnesota side of things, Eric Stahl, 3 goals, 2 assists. Donato, 2 goals, 5 assists. This is his first game against Boston. Look for him to have a good game. Parise, who's out. Apparently, I was just reading, apparently he has the flu, and they may just shut him down for the last couple of games of the year. He has 4 goals and 2 assists in their last 10 games. Be a shame if they shut him down, but understandable if he's not feeling well. Fiala, a goal, 3 assists. Suitors got 3 assists, and Patterin with a goal and an assist. With Parise out of the lineup, it frees up a spot for Nico Sturm to make his debut, son of Marco Sturm, so we'll see how that goes tonight. Likely or confirmed goaltenders. Confirmed are both Yarrow Halak and Alex Stalock. I really think Boston should start Halak in the playoffs. I know they're going to start Rask, and I understand why. I get the reasoning, but I really think they should start Stalock in the playoffs. I'd be very happy if they did. Or Halak in the playoffs. Stalock, of course, is Minnesota. Yeah, they won't be starting him. But Stalock starting for Minnesota. Odds are because Dubnyk's played a ton. So Stalock gets a start tonight against Boston, which does kind of favor the Bruins because Stalock's numbers haven't been great this year. But who knows? Maybe Minnesota comes in tonight with Ryan Donato leading him. Maybe you see them have a really good game and end up winning it. It's in Minnesota, and Boston on the road, their record isn't fantastic. The record at home is amazing, but the record on the road is not fantastic. So we'll see how things turn out for them tonight. And in general, how many more points can Marchand get? I mean, if Marchand ends with about 100, 104, 103, 104, that's just insane when you think about it. Guy who's known as being a rat, and here he is scoring a bunch of points. All right, next up, Vancouver, who have made it clear that they're playing for next year right now, and they're kind of playing for themselves. And there's some pride in this. They're 35-35-10 right now. Nashville is 45-29-6. And Vancouver can play the spoiler role tonight. Now, their road record hasn't been great, and this is technically an Eastern game. I understand they're not in the Eastern time zone because they're sneaky that way, but Nashville's pretty far east, and when Vancouver's had to journey east this year, it hasn't ended well. So let's hope that we don't see any big injuries coming out of this one. The Canucks are 6-3-1 in their last 10. They've won 3 in a row to get there. Whereas Nashville's also 6-3-1. They won their last game. Now Vancouver, of course, is out of the playoffs. The Nashville Predators are number 2 in the Central, tied with Winnipeg, and 1 point ahead of St. Louis. So for Nashville, it's pretty darn close. This is a pretty big game for them. This should be a fun game to watch. Scoring over their last 10 games, Bo Horvat, 3 goals and 8 assists. Tanner Pearson, 6 goals and an assist. Elias Peterson, or Pedersen, or Peterson, or it doesn't really matter. It does. I know people always, every time. 1 goal, 6 assists for him. Tim Schaller, 3 goals and 2 assists. Edler, 3 goals, 6 assists. And Stetcher with a goal and 2 assists. On the Nashville side of things, Arvidsson, 5 goals, 3 assists. Smith, 3 goals, 3 assists. Sissons, 2 goals and an assist. Michael Granlund, 2 assists in his last 10 games. Subban, 2 goals, 3 assists. And Matthias Ekholm with 2 assists for the Nashville Predators. And no confirmation of goaltender for Vancouver. I would think Markstrom against Pekka Rinne. So nice European goaltending matchup there. Again, Vancouver's playing an exciting style, and I think we'll see some highlight reel moments in this game for Vancouver. I don't know that they win it, because Nashville, they need this game. They want to make sure that they maintain their chances for finishing first, and that they keep St. Louis in the rearview mirror. And in order to do that, they're going to have to go through Vancouver, which, again, with Vancouver on the road and being further east than say, Winnipeg, I don't like their chances. And that's just realistic talk coming from me. That's just, I don't really like their chances. I would love to see them finish the season with 84 points. But they have to win tonight and then win their last game as well. And I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do it, but the effort they've shown over the last couple of weeks has been really, really nice. Next up, Islanders 46-27-7 in against the out of it Florida Panthers 36-32-12. But Florida, darn their hearts, they try so hard. And they have so many really solid offensive players. Their defense, sometimes a misadventure. Their goaltending, sometimes a misadventure as well. But that being said, both of these teams are 5-5 in their last 10. The Islanders lost their last game, and of course that was against Toronto. And Florida's won 3 in a row. Now, I do think that right now the Islanders have settled into that number 2 spot, and I think they'll stay there. I say that, and yet nothing's really certain yet. They're 3 points behind Washington. They're 2 points ahead of Pittsburgh. They're 4 points ahead of Carolina. The only way Carolina finishes ahead of them is if they lose both of their games and Carolina wins both of their games. But this is the year of crazy things happening in the Metro. So we'll see how that turns out for them. But it does feel like they're highly likely to finish second in the division, which is a great season. It does kind of feel like their momentum has kind of slowed down over the last month. But again, it's hard to maintain that all year. Now, Florida really doesn't have anything to play for, but they've been playing like they do. Scoring over their last 10, Anders Lee, 3 goals, 2 assists for the Islanders. Eberle, 6 goals, 1 assist. Josh Bailey, 2 goals, 3 assists. Nelson, 3 goals, 5 assists. Nick Leddy with a goal and an assist. And Pulock has a goal and 3 assists for the New York Islanders on their blue line. Now on the Florida side, Barkov, 4 goals, 12 assists. Huberdeau, 6 goals, 9 assists. Dadonov also has 6 goals, 9 assists. Frankie Vetrano, 2 goals and an assist. Ekblad, 1 goal, 3 assists. Yandel, 5 assists. And Sam Montembeault will be starting tonight for the Florida Panthers. No confirmation for the Islanders. I'm just trying to think, like Grace, probably. I would think probably Grace. Why not Grace? For the Islanders, they'll be keeping their eye on what happens with Montreal and Washington, of course. But realistically, this is probably done for them. And now it's a matter of getting ready for the playoffs. Moving along. Montreal. And against those Capitals. Montreal, of course, still with an eye on a playoff spot. Now, they're not technically in one, but they're tied for one. They're 43-29-8, whereas the Washington Capitals are 47-25-8. The Canadiens are 6-3-1. They've won 2 in a row. The Capitals are 6-3-1. They lost their last game. So both teams 6-3-1 coming into this one, which is weird. 6-3-1, 5-5, 6-3-1. Yeah, it's weird. Montreal's tied with Columbus. They lose out on the regulation overtime win tiebreaker. They're 1 point behind Carolina. Are we actually going to see a season where a team ties with the second wild card and misses the playoffs? Is this the year that finally happens? Washington is, of course, first in the division. They're 3 points ahead of the Islanders. The important thing to remember here is this. If they meet Pittsburgh in the playoffs, they will have home ice in that matchup. All right, so scoring over their last 10 games, Brendan Gallagher for Montreal, 3 goals, 3 assists. Andrew Shaw, 1 goal, 8 assists. Jonathan Drouin continues to struggle offensively with a goal and an assist. Byron has 2 goals, 2 assists. Kulak, did anybody see Kulak coming in as any kind of scoring threat? 2 goals, 4 assists for him. Way to go, Brett. Jordy Ben with a goal and 3 assists. On the Capital side, the much talked about Alex Ovechkin, 5 goals, 6 assists. Wilson, 3 goals, 2 assists. Oshie with 4 goals, 6 assists. Connolly, 5 goals, 4 assists. Carlson, 2 goals, 7 assists. And Jensen with 4 assists. Goaltending-wise, no confirmation for Washington. I would think Holtby. They want to lock down the division. I would think they'll use Braden Holtby. And Carey Price is listed as likely. He's playing. There's no way he's not playing. Carey Price is going to be in net tonight for Montreal, probably forever. I think now that they've figured out that they can just have 2 other goalies on the roster that can do the practice stuff, and he doesn't have to do all that, and they could just play him in every game. That might be the way things are for now. I think he's looking at Glenn Hall. Nah, all right, maybe he's not going to hit the Glenn Hall 500 game streak, but it's going to feel like it. And the one question you ask yourself with Montreal is, are they burning out Carey Price? Are they burning out their number 1 goaltender as they strive to make the playoffs? And I get it, they kind of have to, but does that mean this summer they're going to go out looking for a different backup? And if they lose in the first round, if they get swept in the first round, is it worth it? Because the other side of it is Carey Price, a guy who does tend to get injured. You're kind of wearing him down. So, hopefully everything works out fine. But I do have some concerns. Anyways, moving along. New Jersey. The Devils 30, 40, and 10 in against the 44, 29, and 7 Carolina Hurricanes. New Jersey's 5-4-1 in their last 10. They won their last game. Whereas Carolina's 6-4. They also won their last game. New Jersey, of course, is out, but they've been playing better. There are at least some signs of hope for next year. Whereas Carolina is the number 1 wild card. They are 1 point ahead of Columbus and Montreal. So for Carolina, they cannot afford to lose this one. And for New Jersey can kind of put Carolina out of the playoffs, potentially, with a win tonight. So this is where that whole playing spoiler thing comes in. And if you're good at it, you come out of it going, well, yeah, we didn't go to the game, we didn't go to the dance, but neither did they. Now, scoring over their last 10, Agostino with 2 goals, 5 assists for the Devils. Miles Wood with 2 goals and an assist. Stafford, 3 goals, 2 assists. Pavel Zacha with a goal and 4 assists. Butcher, 3 assists. Connor Carrick, a goal and 3 assists for the Devils. On the Carolina side, Sebastian Aho with 5 assists. Williams, 3 goals, 4 assists. Stahl, 4 goals, 5 assists. Ferland with 5 assists. Hamilton, 5 goals, 2 assists. Falk with a goal and 4 assists for the Carolina Hurricanes. Starting goalies, Corey Schneider and Peter Mrazek. So Corey Schneider gets a shot at a victory tonight. The problem is he's in against Carolina, and Carolina needs a win. And I'm torn, see, because I want to see this. I want to see the surge in the playoffs. I want to see Carolina give in to temptation in Game 3, whatever series they're in. They win the game. We have a surge, and Don Cherry and everybody loses their minds. I want to see it. I really do. But I love Corey Schneider, and it would be nice to see him get another victory and get his numbers up a little bit before the end of the year. If only just to make his numbers look a little better for the year. His numbers are going to look bad, but anyways, I do favor Carolina, and Peter Mrazek has been playing some amazing hockey lately. So this could be a very good game, better than it should be, because for New Jersey, they're playing some of their best hockey now that they're out. So frustrating for fans of teams that are out of the playoffs to go, oh, now you're playing well. Oh, yeah, now that it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, guys. And I can guarantee there are players in the dressing room that have kind of a feeling like that are thinking, where was this a few months ago? Where was this result, this effort? Where was this good fortune we're having right now when the games really mattered for us? All right, moving along. San Jose and against the Edmonton Oilers. So it's a game that doesn't really mean anything. But it kind of feels like it does. Because the Oilers right now, it feels like there's almost a battle over who's going to end up being the most watched franchise for all the wrong reasons in the offseason. Is it going to be Edmonton or Ottawa? And San Jose at 44-27-9. They are sinking fast. They're 1-8-1 in their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row. They're number 2 in the Pacific. Now, I have seen it said in the comment section here that maybe San Jose is taking it easy, and as soon as they hit the playoffs, everything's going to be great. That theory is wonderful, but it's not true. I've seen the way that San Jose reacts after these losses. They're not happy. They're not skating off the ice and going, "Oh man, we're coasting so well. We almost won that one, but man, we managed to lose it. I don't know how we did it, but it's great. It's fine. We'll turn it on in the playoffs." They got to play Vegas. And it looks like Marc-Andre Fleury is good to go today. They got to play Marc-Andre Fleury. I really don't see them pacing themselves to go in against that. Now, the Oilers are 3-5-2 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row, but it's still a better record over their last 10 than San Jose's. Of course, the Oilers are out, and we're going to start hearing a lot more. I think there's going to be, I don't want to say dissension, that's probably a little bit too much, but I think we're going to hear a lot more talk from members of the Edmonton Oilers. I think Connor McDavid's the start of it, but there's going to be others that back him up. And we'll see what they do in the offseason. They've got to make some pretty big moves. Scoring over their last 10, Timo Meier, 4 goals, 3 assists. Couture, 3 goals, 5 assists. Nyquist, 1 goal, 3 assists. LeBanc, 4 goals and 4 assists. Vlasic, 1 goal, 5 assists. And Brendan Dillon has 3 assists in their last 10 games. Now, if people want to point out, well, a lot of those 10 games, San Jose's had guys out hurt. Okay, fine, but, Pavelski's back, and the Canucks beat him. Only game Canucks have beat him all year. On the Oilers side, McDavid, 7 goals, 8 assists in their last 10 games. Cassian, 3 goals, 2 assists. Chason, 1 goal, 3 assists. Gagne also has a goal and 3 assists. Klefbom, 7 assists. So Oscar Klefbom is back to playing at a really high level. Nurse, 1 goal and 4 assists for the Edmonton Oilers. No confirmation on starting goalies. You kind of have to play Jones here because you got to get Jones on something of a roll going into the playoffs. And for the Oilers, it's going to be Koskinen because it's always Koskinen. It's bewildering to me how much they play Koskinen, but it's going to be Koskinen because that's kind of the way things work. Anyways, that being said, it is now time to change boards. Alrighty then. So, Winnipeg. All right, Jets. Let's see them clinch the division soon. It's sort of a slippery slope they've been on. They're 46-30-4 overall. They're in against the 37-29-14 Colorado Avalanche. And Winnipeg can do Dallas a bit of a favor tonight if they win this one, which would be nice of Winnipeg to do that. But by doing so, it would mean Winnipeg would likely play Dallas in the first round. 5-5 is the record of those Jets in their last 10. They lost their last game, of course, to Minnesota. Colorado is 7-1-2 in their last 10. They won their last game. Number 1 in the Central, that's where Winnipeg resides, tied with Nashville, 1 point ahead of St. Louis, of course. Number 2 wild card is Colorado. They're 3 points behind Dallas and 4 points ahead of Arizona. With a win tonight, Arizona's out. With a point tonight, Arizona's out. So there is no room for error at all. Now, if you're Arizona and for Colorado, it's highly likely they're going to clinch. So if we look at their scoring over their last 10 games, Kyle Connor, 6 goals, 4 assists. Hayes, 3 goals, 4 assists. Laine with a goal and an assist. Tanev, 1 goal, 3 assists. Trouba, 1 goal, 8 assists. And Sherratt with an assist. On the Colorado side of things, Kerfoot, 4 goals, 4 assists. Colin Wilson with 2 goals, 4 assists. Nieto with 1 assist over their last 10. Andrighetto, 3 goals, 2 assists. Tyson Barrie's become quite the story on that blue line. 6 goals, 5 assists. Ian Cole with a goal and 3 assists. No confirmation on starters. I would think Hellebuck here for Winnipeg after we saw Comrie play the last game, and that didn't end well. And I would think they'll go back with Grubauer in Colorado because they want to clinch tonight. So I would expect a very competitive game. I would think of all the games on the schedule tonight, this will probably be the most competitive of all 12 games, where it feels like a playoff atmosphere. Because it's possible these teams meet in the second round. And, no, in the first round. They would not meet in the second round because Colorado will end up playing Calgary if they do have that number 2 wildcard spot. So this could be a first-round matchup, potentially. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how things turn out for the Jets, who are either going to finish first, second, or third. And we'll find out. I'm trying to think, is there a scenario where they clinch tonight? Yeah, there is. If they win this one, yeah, they'll clinch. They would clinch tonight. Kind of. St. Louis plays well. Let's see. They would be 3 points ahead. No. They would not clinch over St. Louis. But I would think if Nashville loses and Winnipeg wins, then they at least clinch that they finish ahead of Nashville. So there are some scenarios tonight where we could see teams clinching their playoff spots. Be kind of nice. Kind of nice to see that, to be honest. I've had people asking me when I'm going to start the previews for the playoffs. I'm thinking tomorrow. I can do one on the Vegas-San Jose series and on the Boston-Toronto series as well. Get those ones out well ahead of time. I worry that I'm going to do a preview and then in the last game on Saturday there's going to be an injury or something's going to change the whole complexion of a series, and that the series preview I just did the day before isn't going to be valid. How many times have we seen where I do a preview for the season and then the next day a team picks up a free agent or there's a big trade made and people are like, are you going to redo the preview? And I'm like, nope, I'll stick by it, but it does make me nervous at times. All right, moving along. Ottawa and Buffalo. Don't change the channel because this is YouTube. You can't actually change it. And if you're trying to change it this way, you're as old as I am. 29, 45, and 6 is the record of the Ottawa Senators. 31, 39, and 10 is the record of the Buffalo Sabres. Over their last 10, Ottawa's 6 and 4. They won their last game last night. The Buffalo Sabres are 1-8-1 with 3 losses in a row. Both teams far, far, far out of the playoffs. But Ottawa's managed to make me interested in this game. Gosh darn it, Ottawa. Scoring over their last 10, Brady Tkachuk, 6 goals, 3 assists. Gibbons with 4 goals, 4 assists. He's been on a tear. White, 1 goal, 5 assists. Tierney, 1 goal, 3 assists. Shabbat with 7 assists. Cody Ceci with 2 goals and an assist. On the Buffalo side of things, Sam Reinhart, 2 goals, 2 assists in their last 10. Rodriguez, 1 goal, 2 assists. Kyle Okposo has 2 goals. Larson, 1 goal, 3 assists. Dahlin with 4 assists. And Montour with 5 assists. I think Buffalo's going to have something of a large turnover this offseason. Something tells me that some of these younger players who they've been waiting for may be available via trade. And I look at Sam Reinhart and I think, you know what? Maybe he's going to be on the trade block this summer and maybe something will happen there. But that's just mere speculation. Now, what makes me interested in this game tonight, a game that really shouldn't be interesting for any reason, Joey Daccord is going to make his debut in the NHL tonight. And if you're saying who? Exactly. Ottawa's going to just put in a random goal. I'm just kidding. It's not a random goalie. It's not a fan. It'd be really funny if it was. But yeah, this is their free agent signing, free agent-ish. 2015 7th round draft pick. So they signed him 5-6 days ago now. And he'll be making his debut tonight against Carter Hutton. Carter Hutton, who has had horrible luck over the last while, Last while being like 3 months, which is kind of standard for the Buffalo Sabres right now. But it'll be interesting to see how this works, because this is a goalie that, teams have done well with brand new goaltenders making their debuts this year. I guess Ottawa wants to see what they have in this kid. And it's interesting because we've talked about how their goaltending for next year, you've got Anderson, you've got Nilsson potentially. Nilsson's a free agent. And Mike Condon may factor into that as well. There are other goaltenders who could factor into it, and now they've added Decord. There's at least a lot of bodies involved here. So there's a lot of people involved, and that could make things interesting for Ottawa. And, of course, if you're a Sabres fan, there really isn't a whole lot to get excited about here, except maybe you can get out of 7th place in the division. Yeah, that's about where that lands, I guess. But they can clinch 7th in the division with a loss tonight and a win by Detroit. So there's that. All right, moving along. Tampa, the Lightning, 16-4. That's right, 60 wins. In against Toronto, who are 46-27-7 over their last 10. The Tampa Bay Lightning are 7-3. They lost their last game, but they've won the President's Trophy. So Victor Hedman isn't going to play again until the playoffs. Toronto, you want to go into the playoffs feeling good about yourselves? This might be your chance. 4-4-2 is the record for Toronto in their last 10. They lost their last game. They've won 5 of their last 14, I think it is. It's been a rough time for them. And they are number 3 in the Atlantic. They weren't moving up or moving down from that position. But you get the feeling that if they had a decent month in March, they would be 2nd in the Atlantic. Because Boston didn't have a very good run for a while there. And Toronto just wasn't able to take advantage of it. Now, scoring over their last 10. Stamkos, 9 goals and 7 assists. Palat with 4 assists. Kucherov, 6 goals and 8 assists. Anthony Cirelli, 4 goals, 3 assists. Coburn, 2 assists. And Sergachev, 1 goal and 5 assists for the Tampa Bay Lightning. On the Toronto side of things, Tavares, 8 goals and 3 assists. He has a chance at 50 goals. I don't know that he gets there, but just the fact that we're talking about Tavares possibly hitting 50 goals shows how successful he's been in his first year as a Maple Leaf. Matthews, 5 goals, 4 assists. Kadri, 1 goal, 5 assists. Kadri, and again, I made these boards up last night. Kadri apparently isn't playing tonight, and they're not really saying a whole lot about why. But there's some mystery reason Kadri's not playing. They need Kadri against Boston. Kadri's absolutely vital against Boston. He is their closest thing they have to a shutdown forward. They need him to be healthy against Boston. Brown, 2 goals, 3 assists. Hainsey with 3 assists, and Riley with a goal and 3 assists. Andrei Vasilevsky's listed as likely for Tampa. You don't want him to be cold going into the playoffs, so you're not going to play Pasquale. You're not going to play Domingue. You're going to play Vasi. Freddie Anderson is starting for Toronto, so for Maple Leaf fans who think he needs more of a break, there you go. And he's supposed to play on Saturday too, so we'll see how Freddie does tonight against Tampa. We'll see how many of Tampa's top players are actually in the lineup and how many they decide to rest. This is a potential second-round matchup. Of course, Toronto fans would be very excited if it was a second-round matchup. And I give them even odds. I don't think that the difference between Boston and Toronto is so massive as people make it out to be. But it's been a rough last month and a half for Toronto. So there's definitely a lot of work to be done there. All right, moving along. The next game up is Detroit and Pittsburgh. Detroit is 32-38-10. Excellent run they've been on lately. Just fantastic. They're in against the 43-26-11 Pittsburgh Penguins, who have been kind of up and down, really. One game where they look like defending Stanley Cup champions from 2017, and the next game where they look like they're not really all that good. And where's the truth lie? 8-2 is the record of the Detroit Red Wings in their last 10. They've won 6 in a row. The Pittsburgh Penguins, 5-3-2 in their last 10. They lost their last game. Of course, Detroit's out of the playoffs, whereas in the Metro Division, number 3 is where Pittsburgh lies. They're 2 points behind the New York Islanders. They are 2 points ahead of Carolina. They are 3 points ahead of Columbus and Montreal. That's right, Pittsburgh still hasn't clinched a playoff spot. They don't need to do much to clinch a playoff spot from here. In fact, they may not need to do anything because teams that are behind them could very well lose games, and Pittsburgh clinches themselves in that way. But it shows just how close things are in the East and how many good teams there are. And again, as I've been saying, there will be a very good team that misses the playoffs in the East. It's just reality. Scoring over their last 10, Dylan Larkin, 5 goals, 6 assists. He's really woken up during this winning streak. Mantha, 7 goals, 7 assists. He's been fantastic. Tyler Bertuzzi, 5 goals, 9 assists. Finally realizing that potential I've talked about all year. I was worried because before these last few games where he's had multiple points, I had said coming out of, I think it was the All-Star break where I did the video where I talked about fantasy, and I said, Bertuzzi after the All-Star break should be good. And I figured it was because they would trade other guys out. Well, they didn't. And then, Bertuzzi's numbers have been just awful until the last couple of weeks where he's really taken off. Ferk, 2 assists for them in their last 10 games. I do wonder if he's finishing out his career with Detroit and maybe he ends up in Europe next year. He's a guy that I tag as potentially Europe-bound. Kronwall, 6 assists. Bronick, 2 goals and 3 assists on the blue line in their last 10 games for the Detroit Red Wings. On the Pittsburgh side, Crosby, 5 assists. Kessel, 2 goals, 7 assists. Bukestad, 3 goals, 2 assists. Bluger, 3 goals, 2 assists. Pedersen, 3 assists. Schultz with a goal. Malkin may very well be back tonight. They've needed Evgeny Malkin. It's definitely made a difference having him out. Matt Murray will start tonight. So Pittsburgh, it's all hands on deck. And for Detroit, they haven't confirmed. I would expect Jimmy Howard in this one. And I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit goes in and wins 2 in a row over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Who would have thought in a home and home at the end of the year between Pittsburgh and Detroit could be the one that ends up sweeping it. And that Pittsburgh can't sweep it. But this should be a fun game. And hopefully we see something big from Pittsburgh out of this. Going into the playoffs. It'll be very interesting if it's Pittsburgh and the Islanders. Because there is a history there. It's just a long time ago. Long time ago. Kind of in a galaxy far away type thing. Next up, Philly. So the Flyers, who have been doing a lousy job playing spoilers. And again, and I say this, with all honesty and kindness, it just feels like the Flyers were so dejected at having missed the playoffs. And that run took so much out of them. It just feels like there just isn't a whole lot left. They're in against St. Louis, who are 43-28-9. And St. Louis coming off of a pretty grueling game last night against Chicago. And now they get Philly. Of course, Philly, 37-35-8. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. They're out of the playoffs. St. Louis, 43-28-9 overall. 7-1-2 in their last 10. Their last game, of course, was that shootout loss against Chicago. They are number 3 in the Central, 1 point behind Winnipeg and Nashville, 4 points ahead of Dallas. So if everything falls St. Louis's way coming out of tonight, St. Louis could be first with Nashville and Winnipeg behind them by a point. That could absolutely happen tonight. It'll be interesting to see what happens. St. Louis has been quite the story, and you get the feeling that they're rounding into form again. And I personally think if they finish third, if they don't have home ice in the first round, I think that favors the way this team plays. This team's fantastic on the road, but we'll see. Scoring over their last 10, Sean Couturier of the Flyers, 4 goals, 5 assists. Lindblom, 2 goals and an assist. Nolan Patrick with 3 assists. Keep an eye on him tonight. Lawton with 2 assists. Sanheim with 3 assists. And Gostisbehere with 3 goals, 2 assists. On the St. Louis side of things, Braden Shen, 2 goals, 5 assists. Tarasenko, 4 goals, 2 assists. Schwartz with 4 goals, 3 assists. David Perron, 5 goals, 4 assists. He's been fantastic. Parayko with 6 assists. And Bouwmeester with a goal and 3 assists. No confirmation for St. Louis. It's going to be Binnington. Brian Elliott starting tonight for Philly. So I'm kind of surprised it's not Carter Hart, but, Brian Elliott starting, just rotating all 3 goalies, figure out which 2 we're going to keep for next year. On the St. Louis side, it'll be Binnington because Allen played last night. I'm surprised they didn't play Binnington against Chicago and then Allen against Philly, but I don't know. Either way, the goaltending is decided by Craig Berube, and the way that he decides to do it has worked pretty well so far this year. I also want to throw in here that there's been a lot of talk about maybe Jordan Binnington getting into the Calder race. Binnington's only played 30 games. For me, that's disqualifying. For a goaltender to be in the Calder race, he has to play 40. That's just for me, and I may do up a video later on goaltenders have won Calder. Number of games they've played versus games in that season. Binnington's had an amazing run. Not taking anything away from him. He'll definitely be on the all-rookie team for the NHL at the end of the year. He and Carter Hart, first and second team. The future's bright in goal for St. Louis. I don't see Binnington as winning the Calder. If he wins the Conn Smythe, that'll make you feel better, because that means St. Louis ends 52 years of misery and wins themselves the Stanley Cup. I'm sure they don't put on... Do they have banners in St. Louis saying 52 years of misery? I don't think they would. I know in Vancouver there's no banners that say 49 years of misery, unless you're a Montreal fan and you continue to try to put it up in Rogers when nobody's looking. And Montreal fans would do that, because that's kind of something that they do, is 49 years of misery. They might have signs that say that, but yeah. And I'm saying that now because there's no more games in Vancouver at home, so nobody can go, hey, I'm going to bring a sign. No, games are over. It's too late. You'd have to wait till next season, and by next season, kids have ADD. They won't remember. Okay, next up, and it'll be 50 years next year. Arizona, 38, 34, and 8. It's not 49 years, it's 50, morons. 38, 34, and 8, Arizona. This is the last gasp. They're in against Vegas, 43, 30, and 7. I want to say this to Arizona fans. It's been nice to see the arena being full the last little while. I do think that Arizona's got a bright future ahead of them. I've mentioned a lot lately, and I mean this. They do need somebody in to coach the offense a little better. Because there are a lot of games this year that they've lost that if they'd scored just that little bit more, they would have won. I'll be interested to look at the end of the year at who's lost the most one-goal games and could benefit from just that one tweak on the offense. And to me, Arizona's that team. They're 3-4-3 in their last 10. They lost their last game. Whereas in their last 10, Vegas is 5-3-2. They won their last game. 4 points behind Colorado is where Arizona sits. So if Colorado wins, it's done. If Colorado loses in overtime or shootout, it's done. Third in the Pacific is where Vegas lies. It'll be interesting to see how well Vegas plays tonight, because he could be back. So for Arizona, and I haven't heard whether Darcy Kemper's going to be good to go or not. We know Darcy Kemper got hurt in the last game, so we'll see what happens with this one. Kemper, to me, it just looks like he's worn out. Over their last 10 games, Clayton Keller with a goal and an assist. Archibald, 2 goals and an assist. Hinostroza, 4 goals, 3 assists. Cousins, 1 goal, 2 assists. Ekman Larson, 4 goals, 3 assists. And Goligoski with 3 assists. It is remarkable how far Arizona has come with so little from Clayton Keller. In a year that he was expected to add to his point totals from last year, he hasn't. So there's going to be a lot of work to be done in the summer by Clayton Keller. On the Vegas side of things, Carlson, 5 goals, 7 assists. So Wild Bill is getting himself in shape for the playoffs. Smith, 5 goals, 6 assists. Cody Eakin with 5 goals. Ryan Reeves, a goal and 2 assists. Shea Theodore, a goal, 3 assists. And Miller with 3 assists on the blue line for the Vegas Coyotes, or Vegas Golden Knights. It's been a long season, hasn't it? Anyways, on the Arizona side, if it's Pickard, they're done. And I say that with all love and respect. I like Calvin Pickard, and people who can go back to the 2017 expansion draft, I knew right away, like, oh, Pickard's going to be the guy for Vegas. He was until they waived him, or they just he was gone. He was traded to Toronto for nothing, which should have been a red flag, right? But all of us went, oh, that's just crazy. That McPhee, I tell you, knew something. But if it's Pickard tonight against Fleury, I mean, Fleury hasn't played in a while. Vegas will rally around their goaltender if Marc-Andre Fleury plays tonight. He's said to be available. Now, when they say a goaltender's available, it may very well mean he's going to sit on the bench with his gear on, and it's going to be Malcolm Subban again tonight. Now, if it's Subban, there's a chance for Arizona. To me, if it's Fleury, there isn't. I don't think Vegas loses at home with Marc-Andre Fleury playing for the first time in weeks. I think they're going to want to go into the playoffs with a good feeling, and I think they're going to want to do that for Fleury as well, and that would likely be the end of the season for the Arizona Coyotes. But Got to play the game, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. This is the second to last marathon preview. The marathon preview on Saturday will be the last one we'll see until October. And so from here, there's room for more fun videos. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.